during emotional pain. We're going to uncover the fascinating neuroscience of silence, moving right past our usual assumptions to look at what is actually happening inside the brain. Okay, let's just get right into it. You've probably heard, or let's be real, maybe even said these two incredibly frustrating words during an argument. I'm fine. Out of habit, we tend to label this as the silent treatment. We think the person is just avoiding things, being stubborn, or flat out refusing to engage with us. But that calm, two-word response, it is almost always a complete illusion masking a very different reality. So that brings us to the big question for today. What does silence actually mean? Because the truth is that silence is not empty at all. As we'll see throughout this explainer, there is an absolute storm raging just beneath that seemingly calm, apathetic exterior. I mean, thousands of thoughts and feelings are colliding all at once. So the absolutely crucial thing to understand here is that speaking up or staying silent isn't always a rational choice. Part 1. Anatomy of the Free State and Unpacking Polyvagal Theory. Modern neuroscience actually teaches us that going quiet during a massive conflict isn't just stubbornness, it's an involuntary biological reflex. Dr. Stephen Porges' polyvagal theory introduces us to something called the dorsal vagal shutdown. Now, this is the most primitive, extreme level of our nervous system's response to a threat. When an emotional threat feels so overwhelming that arguing won't solve it and escaping just isn't possible, the body literally shuts down. It does this to prevent itself from burning out. Let's track exactly how this escalation happens. We start at level 1, social engagement. You're calm, you're collected, you can clearly say, hey, that hurt me. But as stress rises, we hit level 2, fight or flight. Your heart starts racing, you might raise your voice, or you just want to storm out of the room. But when the emotional pain redlines past that point, boom, you hit level 3, freeze, the shutdown. The switch simply flips off, physiologically. Now think about what's literally happening inside the brain right at that moment. It's essentially a neurological short circuit. The prefrontal cortex, which is your logic and language center, temporarily completely disconnects from the amygdala, the emotional center, which is currently totally overloaded. In simple terms, language gets locked. Even if 1,000 thoughts are screaming inside their head, they physically cannot find the voice to turn those thoughts into words. So, the crucial takeaway here is this. Standing in front of someone in this state and demanding, "Why aren't you saying anything?" Well, biologically speaking, that's like asking someone with a broken leg to go run a marathon. Their silence isn't a rejection of you. They are actively using 100% of their energy right in that very moment just to hold themselves together against the sheer force of an emotional storm. Moving on to section 2, where silence comes from, or the architecture of shutdown. You know, the nervous system doesn't just learn to freeze overnight. It's a deeply ingrained survival mechanism. Psychology points to 3 core origins for this response. First up, childhood wounds. As attachment theory founder John Bowlby showed, if crying or anger was punished in childhood, the brain quickly learns that vulnerability equals danger, so it builds a quiet fortress to hide in. Second, the shadow of toxic relationships. If an adult partner constantly gaslights or twists words, the nervous system adapts. It learns that speaking up only makes things worse. And third, natural brain wiring. And what exactly does that natural brain wiring look like? Well, think of the number 100. Imagine 100 open browser tabs. Some people are just internal processors. During a loud argument, an overwhelming amount of information absolutely floods their sensitive nervous system. Forcing them to respond instantly is exactly like forcing an old computer to open 100 tabs at once. It's going to completely crash. They need a loading screen to organize the chaos. Which leads us to section 3, inside the quiet storm. Surface versus depth. Because what you see on the outside is vastly different from what is happening on the inside. You might see a still lake, a certain coldness, someone who seems like they're just ignoring you. But what's actually happening? Well, neuroscientists point to the overactivation of the default mode network. That's the brain system responsible for self-reflection. Their mind is racing at an incredible intensity. Thousands of questions are colliding all at once. Was it my fault? What did they mean? If I speak now, is it going to make it worse? They aren't avoiding the issue at all. They are trapped in a maze of overanalysis. This actually ties in perfectly with a concept by Dr. Dan Siegel called the window of tolerance. Basically, this is the psychological zone where we can function, process information, and communicate normally. But during an intense conflict, the hurt person's nervous system has been violently shoved right outside that window. They've been thrust into a state of severe emotional overload, where normal functioning just ceases to exist. And this completely reframes how we should look at this. When they're outside that window of tolerance, they feel a massive surge of dark, harsh emotional energy. They know deep down that if they speak right then, it's not going to be productive, honest communication. It's going to be verbal bullets that could leave permanent scars. So the silence you might perceive as an attack, it's actually the strongest shield they have to protect the relationship from their own internal storm. But this leads to a truly tragic kind of psychological chase. You know the one. External pressure, like following them from room to room, demanding they talk, creates a disastrous internal result. It actually pushes their nervous system even deeper into that panicked survival-free state. It's literally like forcing a drowning person to sing for you. It confirms their deepest subconscious fears that their processing style is unsafe, and it makes that invisible wall between you so much thicker. Okay, Section 4. Reconnecting without breaking. Brain-based solutions. So, the big question, how do we reach a closed-off partner without just breaking the hinges right off the door? For the partner on the outside, the absolutely crucial point is this: presence without demands. You need to step back. And I mean step back, without any of that silent, lingering frustration. When you completely remove the pressure to respond, their guard naturally starts to lower. You are actually helping to diffuse their freeze response, which allows blood flow to gradually return to the language centers of their brain. And here's a beautifully simple script to actually put that into practice. Try saying this: I can see you're overwhelmed. I respect your space, and I'm here to listen when you're ready. By saying this and then actually giving them physical space, you send a profound signal of safety straight to their retreating nervous system. You're basically telling their biological survival radar, you are safe with me even when you can't speak. Now, what if you are the one who freezes? Listen, your processing speed is not a flaw, but silence used for too long can easily turn into a wall that blocks the very connection you actually want. So here is your screenshotable, safe exit script. My mind feels stuck right now. I need 30 minutes, but I promise I'll come back. This tiny little signal acts as a powerful bridge. It gives you the necessary space to defrost your emotions while totally reassuring your partner that you aren't just abandoning them. Because when we really wrap our heads around the neuroscience we've covered today, a pretty beautiful truth emerges. Silence, in the right place, is never distance. It's a quiet, genuine presence. These individuals are actively protecting their emotional integrity. When they do finally speak up, their words aren't just impulsive reactions. They're careful conclusions refined through really heavy filters of honesty and compassion. When they tell you they are hurt, you know it has truly reached its depth. So the next time that emotional storm hits, I want you to really ask yourself, will you see their silence as a rejection or as an invitation to truly understand them? Take this knowledge, apply